Hey guys, this is Taylor Coleman with Captured Creative, and I am bringing you a new edition of What's in My Pack. I'll be focusing on a whitetail tree stand hunt for this, and first off I'll start with the pack. When I'm in the tree stand, I like to use the 2200 pack. It's just a lot smaller. You don't need to bring a lot of stuff with us when we're tree stand hunting, but this pack has worked really well for me the last 2 years while I've been in the tree stand. I really like how it's got this little strap back here. It works well for hanging on a peg, and then I take the hip belt. If the tree isn't too big, I'll take the hip belt and strap it around the tree just to snug the pack up against the tree nice. And like I said, it works really well for tree stand hunting. Next, I'll talk about some of the gear that I have in the pack with me when I'm on like a 2 to 3 hour sit. And that would be like a neck gaiter. I'll be using a neck gaiter. I always have a beanie with me, and then the First Light gloves. And the only reason I point out these three things is that I'll obviously be wearing more of a kit on my body, but these are the things that I have in the pack just in case it's colder than I anticipated, or mosquitoes are bad early season, I need a neck gaiter. So these things I keep usually in the main pouch of the bag. Secondly would be this leafy suit. I don't use it that often, but I always have this with me. I usually put it in the outer expandable pouch here on the bag, just to have with, just in case I need to put a stock on an animal as I'm going into the tree stand, or I get to the stand and like early season it might be too warm for the jacket that I wore, and then I have this, which is nice breathable material to put on in exception for the jacket that I had with. Next thing that I'll point out is that I always have this ground blind with when I go into the tree stand. Again, you never know what you're going to come across when you're walking into the stand. Some of my stand locations, I'm walking half a mile to a mile to get to the location, going against field edges, and you don't know what you might come across, or deer already out in the plot, and you want to just set up on that field and hunt those. So I put this ground blind here on the outside of the pouch. It works really well, straps in nicely with the side straps. The next thing that I always have with in the pack would be a pair of binoculars. Because I'm a photographer, I always have the binoculars with, but rarely do I actually have them on me. I carry them and I keep them in a bino harness just for the sake of protecting them, and then if I do actually want to put them on my chest, I have the ability to do that. But I'll just keep this in the main pouch of the pack as well. Next thing I always have with in the tree stand is a grunt tube. Pretty self-explanatory. Saw, I always have to have a foldable saw with, just in case you need to trim out the stand a little bit or something else on the way in. And then this is a bow holder. It screws into the tree. I always have one of these in the pack. Even if I think that there's one at that tree location, I always have an extra one with, because I've had it before where you get to the stand and for some reason the previous hunter, a family member, or what have you, took it down or took it with them. You always have one of these with, mainly because I hate having the bow just sitting on my lap for the whole sit. Here's another thing that I always have with me. It would be a tree stand step, a tree step, climbing step. This is something that I keep in the main pouch and down at the bottom. It's just a good thing to have with for hanging the pack, or just needing to put an extra step in as you're climbing the tree. When I am filming, I'll have this tree arm with me. It's for mounting a camera to it, and I love using the Exo Pack for carrying this because I put this on the outside of the pack and use what a lot of people would use, the cinch straps to carry a bow or a gun. I use it to carry this, and it works really well. It doesn't clank around on my way in, and it just works really well for carrying something like this. The last thing that's of importance is this charger and my cell phone. If you've spent any time in the tree stand, you know how boring it can be, or mundane it can be at times. No deer in the field, or you're sitting for an all-day sit, and there's just a lull in the action throughout the day. I keep these in the top zipper pouch of the pack. That way it's easily accessible when the bag is hanging against a tree. And lastly, I did want to point out that the pack does work really well for a bow. The cinch straps fit really well to hold the bow on. Obviously nothing mind-blowing, but it works really well for me. And then inside the pack, when I am carrying camera gear, I do have this little insert. It's just a very simple camera bag insert, small one. I just fit it right in the main pouch. And then I always have a rain pouch or a rain poncho with. This is the First Light Vapor, their lightest version. I just stuff that to the bottom because, as you all know, you never know when a storm is going to come up out of nowhere. So that's basically the gist of it for tree stand hunting. Pretty simple, nothing mind-blowing, but it works really well for me, and I've loved using this bag while tree stand hunting. One last thing I wanted to point out is that this side pouch, I have the side pouch on my hip belt, and I've used that before for carrying little accessories into the tree stand. It also works good. I put my rangefinder in there. That way I always know I have it with, and it fits really nicely in the side pouch. So if you have any more questions on what I use for whitetail hunting, or anything else for any other type of hunting, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Captured Creative, or at my personal Instagram, Taylor_Coleman. I love to talk about gear. I love to talk about hunting. So just let me know if you ever have any questions. Thank you.